A double-decker bus crashed into a bus stop in Stockholm on Friday, causing fatalities and injuries, police said. According to Associated Press, police said that several people were hit, but they weren't immediately giving information on their number, gender, or ages. Authorities were alerted to the crash at 3:23 p.m. on Friday. The vehicle rammed into the bus shelter on Valhallavägen, a street in the Swedish capital's Östermalm district. The area is in the northern part of the city, near the Royal Institute of Technology. Police were treating the crash as involuntary manslaughter, but were still investigating. It wasn't immediately clear what the cause was. Swedish news agency TT said police confirmed that the driver had been detained and would be questioned to determine what happened. Emergency services said the vehicle, a regular city bus, was not in service and no passengers were on board, TT reported.
In recent days, Russian troops have stepped up their attempts to break through to Pakovsk, attempting to enter the city with light vehicles through its southern outskirts. The 7th Corps of the Airborne Forces of Ukraine reported this on Telegram. To advance, the enemy took advantage of unfavorable weather conditions, in particular dense fog, which complicated the work of Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance and the engagement of the enemy in open terrain, the statement said. Currently, over 300 Russian troops are stationed within Pakovsk. Their goal remains unchanged: to reach the city's northern borders and attempt to encircle the agglomeration. Despite challenging conditions, the defense forces continue to identify and destroy enemy groups in urban areas. Under these circumstances, those 300 Russian soldiers will either be destroyed or surrender. Since the beginning of November, 162 occupiers have been killed in Pokrovsk and another 39 have been injured. Units of the Ukrainian army, assault and airborne assault units of the Special Operations Forces, the Security Service of Ukraine, the National Guard, the National Police, and other structures of the Defense Forces of Ukraine are involved in clearing the area. Russian occupiers are attempting to cut off the logistics of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Pokrovsk direction. Ukrainian defenders have shown that two can play this game, according to a telegram post from the 7th Airborne Assault Corps. Pokrovsk defenders calculated one of the occupiers' logistics routes and then remotely mined it. They blew up a Russian ground-based logistics complex near the village of Shevchenko, located 5 kilometers south of Pokrovsk. When it comes to the kill zone near Pokrovsk, this means the enemy also has complex logistics. Therefore, they are increasingly using ground-based robotic systems, Ukrainian military officials explained. By the time Russian troops outnumbered Ukrainian defenders in Pokrovsk, the city was already in ruins and bodies littered the streets. This brutal battle demonstrates the Kremlin's true goal, not simply to seize Donbass, but to restore Russia's influence in Ukraine and restore Moscow's status as a great power, writes the Wall Street Journal. Despite the efforts of US President Donald Trump, who called on both sides to stop the killing and attempted to seek a territorial compromise, the White House peace initiative is stalled. As analysts note, Putin isn't bargaining over territory, but is fighting for history, symbols, and the restoration of the Russian Empire. Trump is trying to solve a problem, but Putin is consulting Peter the Great, Ivan the Terrible, and Catherine the Great on his vision. William Courtney, a senior fellow at RAND and former US ambassador, observed wryly, he thinks in imperial terms. Even before the full-scale invasion, Putin published an essay in which he claimed that Ukrainians and Russians were one people, and that Ukraine itself was Lenin's creation. On the eve of the invasion, he repeated this in an address. For us, Ukraine is not just a neighboring country, it is an integral part of our own history. For the Russian leader, who experienced the collapse of the USSR as the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century, the war is an attempt to rewrite history and restore Russia to its role as a power equal to America. Putin is waging this war to reverse the results of the Cold War and restore Russia's status as a great power, explained military analyst Ruslan Pukov. Following the meeting between Trump and Putin in Alaska, Russian media portrayed the summit as a symbol of equality between the two superpowers. For the Kremlin, experts say true success lies not in peace, but in recognition of Russia as a force dictating terms to others. Despite this, negotiations on Donbass failed. Moscow demanded a limitation on the size of the Ukrainian army, while Kiev demanded security guarantees.